Fantasy VII last week had a very exciting trailer. It was hats off to PlayStation for that state of play.
Yeah.
Like the first one, it was like Iron Man VR, fine. And then the second one, it's like, Monster Hunter World expansion. Like, all right, a lot of people excited about that. And then, bam, Final Fantasy VII trailer. Like one of the most anticipated games on the horizon right now. It's crazy they got that.
And not even a full, just sort of like a, hey, more info on this coming in June.
Which is very exciting, just to for Square to plant the flag and say, E3, we're going to be going all in, or at least it seems like they're going to be revealing a lot more about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, because there's still a lot that we don't know.
Yes, exactly.
But that trailer was interesting. Did you guys have any big impressions from looking at that thing?
I just thought it got me excited about it. I remember I was on vacation and I was like, oh my God, these footage coming, I have to watch it. And I was just like giddy about it, looking at it. Because it's cool to see a game, Final Fantasy VII was such an important game and a powerful game in the PS1 era. It's what I remember most from the PlayStation, actually. I have to play this game.
I think, yeah.
And so to see that kind of be remade and have these more realistic graphics and even change up things like the battle system, which I know some people are really split on. I do enjoy my turn-based battle systems. I do think
turn-based battle systems.
I do think they have
for everyone.
I do think Final Fantasy VII hasn't exactly aged the best as time has went on, which is why I'm excited about this remake, because to go back and play it now, yes, you can play it and it's not awful by any means, but it just doesn't have the same spark. That
Not
it
the
did back
exact
then.
same, but I was amazed by the amount of people playing in the Game Club, which feels like just yesterday for me, but apparently
It was
it was
3 years
it was
ago.
a while ago that we played through the game for Game Club.
Yeah,
So
I was
if you're
gonna say, you
interested
guys
in
played through it more.
5 hours of comprehensive analysis of Final Fantasy VII, you can find that on YouTube.
Yeah, search Game Club Final Fantasy VII. It is very fun. I love going back and looking at that thing. But I was amazed by the number of people playing it for the first time there. They're like, actually, this holds up pretty well. Of course, I was amazed by how it held up, but it's my favorite game ever. So, of course, just nostalgia is
That's your
flowing
favorite
through my
Final
veins.
Fantasy?
Yeah. Oh, by a mile. Yeah.
Awesome.
By a
Was that
half
one
a
of your
country
first
mile.
ones?
It was my first one.
Okay,
It was my first
yeah,
RPG ever. So I'm very much in the bag for
Yeah.
this stuff.
This is good. Yeah, this is going to be fun for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it was crazy seeing the changes. I brought Joe over to my desk, and I was too obsessed with this. But just the UI changes from the first trailer, which was 4 years ago, to this trailer now, where originally it was so much more Kingdom Hearts 3 inspired. It seemed like to be that exact menu. And now I'm still trying to wrap my mind around what I'm seeing there. It seems like there's a commands menu, so you can have more details, but just you can swap between characters, it looks like. And then also you have a main attack, and then just what kind of looks like a heavy attack, I guess.
Yeah, things like Braver, which was normally one of Cloud's limit breaks. It looks like that's just an attack that might be on a cooldown or something. I don't know.
But that's in a different menu where you see it. Yeah, so it's Braver, and then there's a gap, and then the potion is in there. So it's like the sub menu of some sort. But even combining the limit breaks with the item menus, I don't know what's going on there.
That's Kingdom Hearts, though, where you just use the direction pad to do the different. I wonder if it's like that, because you can in Kingdom Hearts you have your potion that's locked in that you can choose, and then also your magic and specials are all on that same menu.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to be similar to that.
I'm sure they'll be taking some cues. But yeah, so now Cloud has this move called Punisher. That's just on there all the time. It's like the triangle button. And then when you're playing as Barrett, it shows one called Backblast, which is just a heavier version of his basic attack. What is going on here?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't gone I've watched the trailer a couple times. I haven't gone frame by frame to look at it or anything. But there's some things about that real-time system that always sort of give me pause when you do an attack on something and it just feels like they're not reacting to it at all. And that's what I saw in the trailer. That sort of, more than the real-time combat and stuff, that's what sort of had me raising an eyebrow a little bit.
Well, combined with the fact that when the three of us were in Square for the Final Fantasy 15 cover story trip, and we talked to Katase a little bit about the remake, and remember we talked about the action combat, and he said I feel like, the modern mold for combat in Final Fantasy is kind of a Dissidia type thing. Just hearing that word connected to Final Fantasy 7, it's my God, no. Please no Dissidia combat.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like that's not what it is.
Yeah.
No, it definitely seems more deliberate than that.
Dissidia is a lot more focused on things looking sort of cinematic and cutscene-y almost.
Right.
Whereas, this looks like it does look a little more Kingdom Hearts focused, but
split with Final Fantasy 15 a little bit with that.
Yeah. Oh man, the way Midgard looks definitely looks like Insomnia from FF15 in a lot of ways. I think that.
Yeah.
But
I'm definitely excited to explore the town. It's nice to see Aerith. I'll call her Aerith 1,000 times until I die. Yes, Joe?
That is, talking about initial impressions. I watched the trailer, I was excited, and then within minutes, there are people online complaining about Aerith's design.
because her face is too long, which I saw something about.
I think she looked fine.
She looks okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's just one of the ways in which sometimes just like fandom can be awful. Like the fans of something, you think that they're the ones who who are enthusiastic, but then they also just come out and like hate things that are fine.
I guess I haven't looked back at it in the PS3 tech demo for Final Fantasy VII that they released, where it's that intro. They show Aerith there, right? I haven't done like a side by side, or is that just the train?
Oh, God, that was so. I mean, I think she was in it. Yeah, but I mean, it's
still the intro.
That was at the beginning of the PS3 era, so it's like no design there.
Yeah, that's what is always interesting to me is how character designs kind of change from when they first get announced. So I never feel like anything is locked in stone until it gets really close to release, which we don't know when we're getting this first game.
There's even like tiny details though, like from the first trailer to this one, it's like Jesse's design is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think like they removed Biggs's earring, like stuff like it, or Wedge's earring. I get those two confused all the time. Yeah.
Wedge is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, but then that's confusing. And Biggs is the wedgy one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very clear. So like the biggest change so far that you can really see in that sequence is it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like the end of the sequence with the fire is like when the plate falls, right, and crushes everything, and it shows Sephiroth in that area, which is bizarre, and I'm not a fan of as a gut reaction. If that's actually where that is, which I think it is.
That's possible. At the same time, like there are so many parts in that game where there's those moments where they like flash static, right?
Or just a black screen of the text.
Yeah, where it makes that white flash where there's some sort of indication that there's like a dissonance in the way like Cloud is putting things together, or there's some,
his memories are fused with Sephiroth, all that stuff.
Or there's some interference going on with the whole like reunion thing and stuff like that. So it wouldn't, like, to me, it is certain. I am certain that is not actually Sephiroth.
Oh no, I am also certain. Yeah. I just don't like seeing Sephiroth that early, because I remember even playing through it in the game club. I love the sense of suspense and tension, just seeing like a bloody trail where Sephiroth dragged Jenova through, or like coming across like outside the Chocobo farm. You see that snake just being impaled. It's like, what is this monster? And then, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but I think the first time you actually see him in front of you, I think is on the boat on the way to Costa del Sol. Like it takes a while before you even see this guy.
It's in Calm. I mean, you see him in the flashback.
I guess you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I guess, but in terms of real time, though, I guess it'd be on the boat.
Yeah, but you're sitting in the back of a truck, and that's when you, as a player, like can finally put a face to the name.
Right.
Yeah, but I do like, as you said, that suspense leading up to it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But all of Midgar.
I think that it would still build it though. So like, here's the thing: at some point, you're not going to play Final Fantasy VII for the first time again. Someone like you, for instance, right? Like you know when Sephiroth is coming. You know what that character's all about. I don't think that, let's say that you are a first-time player for it now. They maybe aren't even showing you, like in the trailer, for instance, you just see a glimpse of Sephiroth's back and like arm, right? Maybe that's all you see at that point in the game. I think it's still enough. Like, if that's the case, that's still a tease without necessarily pulling the curtain back fully. You know.
So they're just going to replace every flash, every black screen with the text with just another glimpse, another body part of Sephiroth.
Not everyone. Not everyone. All I'm saying is that there is more than one way to build up that suspense and tension and reveal than the PS1 era white screen flashes.
I know. I hope they find some way to do that. I hope it's not just a case of, well, everyone knows who Sephiroth is, so let's just throw him in the beginning early on and have him fly above your head while you're picking flowers with Aerith or whatever.
Yeah, it's got to be hard now to kind of create that.
Sarah, I don't put it past him.
Yeah, due to the fact that he is such a popular villain and people have seen Sephiroth in some capacity, I'm sure. Even if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, at least you kind of know what that character looks like. So it's kind of hard to create the same feelings that we had when we were playing it and didn't have that such recognition of the character. But I still think you can pull it off in a interesting way by just, like as you said, if they do it right with leading up to like showing the blood trails and all that.
I hope so. I mean, because it's interesting when we talked to Katase, who's the director, now he's the producer. Although, for the remake, I missed this news story that it was like a month ago or so that they announced there's going to be a co-director along with Nomura, which is interesting. And I think it's his first time directing a project.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, what is?
Yeah, he worked on, I think he started with Final Fantasy 12, so not a huge old timer, but I guess that's going back there at this point. But But anyways,
That game came out in like 2005. That's like almost 15 years.
yeah, but for Japanese developers, that's like blink of an eye, man.
Jesus.
But Katase said at some point in terms of like changes they're making that, hey, nothing's sacred. And he had an interesting perspective. I think he said something along the lines of like, well, the people running this project all worked on the original. So to us, nothing is sacred and we will be changing stuff up.
Yeah. His sort of sentiment was like, why would we do this if we're just doing the same thing again?
Yeah.
Now this is a chance
And
for us
I actually
to,
agree with that.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
even
yeah.
people who are upset about the battle system changing, I almost think that's, when I play this game again, I want to play a different version of it. I want it to have some differences. I want it to feel kind of like a new experience, but also familiar,
Yeah.
So it's like them striking that right balance between it.
This is a dumb analogy, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Do it.
You know how? So like I was saying, you can't play this game for the first time again, right? If you're familiar with it, nothing's gonna like catch that lightning in a bottle.
I'm planning on getting a lobotomy, but yeah, go on.
Okay. So the dumb analogy is like, let's say that there's a song you really like, and you listen to a cover of it. It's usually, for me anyway, it's disappointing when that cover just sounds like exactly like the original
Right.
song versus one that like takes. If you don't want something that's just like totally bonkers,
You want
Yeah.
Johnny Cash's Hurt.
yeah,
Right.
exactly, or Johnny Cash's Ghost Riders in the Sky. No, Hurt is a great example of that. Where it's like it's different enough to like bring out some new dimension. And I think if they apply that to FF7, I think that there's a lot of good stuff that can happen. Yes.
My Empire of Kate Sith. Is that a clever?
No, that's nope. Cross that one
cross
out.
it off.
Edit it out.
Yes, I'm totally with you. So they also said, this is still an episodic game, but not even in a Man of
Don't
Medan
even say
style.
that. Don't
even
say episodic.
Multi-game take on Final Fantasy
And
7.
each one is going to be, they said, a full-blown RPG.
They said, think like Final Fantasy 13.
This
right?
is
Yeah.
this is the in my mind the worst mistake they've made with this game is in that initial discussion of it, talking about it as episodic.
because there's still misconceptions out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because like that is something that has persisted for 5 years since the game was announced, that this is episodic, like Life is Strange.
Yeah, I even was talking to Joe about this morning. I'm like, I'm still kind of confused about how they're going to do this.
Well, let's try and predict it. Let's try
Yeah.
and figure it out,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the obvious thing is people are like, oh, it's like the discs. But it's like, well, it's not. Because
No.
what would the third game be? It would be so short and so strange. And they
Yeah.
also, did they say multiple protagonists or just hint towards different protagonists for each game? Am I pulling that out of my ass?
I don't remember a discussion of that.
I swear to God that came up at some point.
The thing that strikes me, what they've said is that like things like you'll see parts of Midgar that you haven't seen before, and things like the idea that they're fleshing out and like adding more to the game. I think that it's safe to like here's my flag planting in the ground
Yes,
here.
yeah.
Disc 1 is Midgar
I think you're right.
with maybe ending after the calm flashback.
So you do Clouds Past.
So think about
yeah.
because then that's where disc 1 ends, is basically like Sephiroth walking through the fire after torching Nibelheim and Cloud saying, I will never forgive him.
Yeah. Also, they probably don't have to like fully solve the world map issue at that point, because like who the hell knows what they're going to do for that? And in that case, it's like you could make a short path going from Midgar over to Calm if you really need to there.
Yeah.
I think that's
Or you could just do that in a
possible.
cutscene. Like you
Yeah.
don't need to be out in the wider world at that point,
But if you don't have that world map for disc 2, like I don't know how the hell you do it. What do you guys think? How do you predict that'll work?
man, I would my guess just from talking to them about games like FF6 versus FF10, where like 6 has the traditional sort of overworld, whereas 10 is like there's no overworld, it's just like different locations.
Yeah.
I would guess that they do not do an overworld.
And then how do they do it? Like how do you get from one location to the next? It's just going to be like, taxi over here. Time to go to Cosmo Canyon. Beep, beep. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you can do a lot of that in different scenes.
Yeah.
or even just like you're on the highway and it'll be a menu of where do you want to go.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there could be a whole different mechanic about that too. Just like I think there's a way to do transportation that isn't just here's a big overworld world for how this works. I like that structure, by the way, but I feel like my sense is that Square Enix sees that as a very like old school approach to RPGs, and I don't know that they would be doing that again.
Yeah. Here's my prediction. First game, only Midgar. Second game, you're still Cloud, and then it's kind of roaming around the world. And then third game is Cloud, mentally deranged in the wheelchair. You're playing as Tifa up until the ending, and then you switch back over to Cloud. Just for a weird structure there.
What's the middle part?
Middle part, I mean, that's where it gets messy.
Just
that's
everything.
what I can't
It would be like
figure
Temple of
out.
the Ancient, stuff like that, right? They just try and make the most out of exploring the world in that one. And then the third one, you're Tifa? Or do you think second one, you're Tifa?
That's a good. I think. Let's see. We're assuming a trilogy here. Also, they did not say a trilogy.
God, if it's more than a trilogy, they're out of their effing
Like,
minds.
what if like one of these like they go back to like Crisis Core or something too, and they
Yeah.
say the three? Like I've thought of that too. Like they didn't specify.
I'm sure when they show Zack's story, I'm sure they'll probably expand upon it a fair amount since they know so much more about it at this point,
Yeah, and there's stuff about that. I wonder to the degree to which they're going to delve into like some of the expanded universe stuff that they did, because
Yeah.
like, I mean, the stuff in Dirge of Cerberus is just stupid.
Yeah, I really hope they don't rehash that.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's
also,
just
when
like-
does that take place? Isn't that after 7? I think it is, right?
Yeah, but it like Dirge of Cerberus has like implies stuff that happens when like Vincent is a Turk.
Okay.
And stuff like that too. So
I didn't
there's-
play that. What am I missing out on? So it just goes into his history, but it's
don't
not
do it.
relevant. It's just like in 7, all you need to know is he used to be a Turk, now he's a vampire or whatever.
Right, but if we're talking about ways that they're probably going to flesh out the game,
Yeah.
Vincent, who's like one of the like fan favorite characters, is probably a place that they're going to look into that, considering
Yeah.
they did a whole spin off on him before.
Yeah.
But they did a bunch of dumb looking stuff, like also in that game. I don't want them to do the dumb stuff. I don't want them to do the
No dumb stuff. Got it.
There's also some complicated stuff where it's like Crisis Core builds out a lot of interesting stuff with like Zack and Sephiroth and what's his name? Angeal and
Oh, Christ. Okay.
Genesis.
Right.
And like there's got to be some weird rights issues because Genesis is based on a real guy. Like he's a
oh, really?
yeah, it's like a pop idol or something named Gact.
I love when they put pop idols in video games.
You do?
He's
Do
also
you really?
he's also in a game called Bujingai,
That sounds fun.
a PS2 slasher or like a DMC kind of game.
So maybe if they dive more, what if like second disc is Cloud's past and also relationship with Zack? And also like Zack and Aerith, just everything in the past is second disc.
I don't know, man. I don't think you can do.
Also like Dine's past. Let's get everybody in there.
Here's the problem with your theory, though. It's like you say first disc is Midgar. Where do you end that? Well, here we are.
Motorcycle chase.
We just finished a motorcycle chase. The end.
And then they're sitting there
No
looking
way.
at the horizon and say, we have the whole world in front of us and 6 years to make it.
And then you start the next game with, oh, cool. Here's finally that Sephiroth guy we've been wanting to see.
Well,
You
I
don't
think,
end
I think
on
they're
that?
going to shove Sephiroth down your throat so many times throughout the sequence that it won't be like, oh, where is he? I am just shocked that it's
Also-
been 4 years and they've shown footage from like the first 2 hours of the game. Realistically, I think it's bonkers.
How do you not end a game on the like Aerith scene in the temple?
We can say this, right? I know there's a bunch of debates
I
about
mean-
spoilers.
No,
but
no. I think you can.
yeah.
How do you not end with like a game on Aerith's death?
Because there's a lot of game to tackle, and I think they're going to realize like this is a lot that we have to chew on and actually make here. We need to stretch this out a little bit, and we need some meat on that bone for later. So they'll save that.
Question 2.
Yes.
Do you think they will kill Aerith again?
Oh, that's
I could see them doing it
interesting-
differently.
Yeah,
if- like-
differently and at a different point maybe to surprise you.
Like I feel like that is the one thing in that game that everyone is so sure is going to happen
Right.
that it also makes it the one thing that I am most sure that they are looking at changing.
I think they should, honestly, at this point, because they surprised
Right.
the longtime players. The other players, too, are like waiting for it.
So there's no death, or you think they just
I
swap
don't
it
know.
out?
I think either, for my opinion, they're not going to, I don't think they wouldn't do it
Mm-hmm.
personally, because it's such a part of that story. I just think it's going to come in a different way than you're expecting.
Or maybe
Yeah.
they have like an Aerith 2 pop out, like Kate Sith 2. Hello! Don't mind my death.
I didn't. Yeah, Yeah, I guess I should say I'm sure she almost has to die for for that. So it's not like I think they're going to substitute like Tifa in or something. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I think in that,
Let's just change up the character.
but I think in that moment when you think it's going to happen, I don't think it is.
Yeah, that's what
Right,
I kind of think as well.
Yeah, because she needs to be dead for the end sequence, I guess, to work in
Well,
some
for
way.
so much of that game to
Yes,
work.
yeah. Do you think it's weird that we haven't seen Tifa at all so far? Like she's in the menu in that new trailer, but you never see a glimpse of her. I don't know if they're just saving that
They're probably
marketing
saving
beat.
that.
I guess.
I think they're saving.
Yeah,
it.
I mean, like this trailer was the reveal of Aerith. We hadn't seen her yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you bring her out later. I think there's also I was seeing some discussion about like what her design is going to look like also, and
Is it going to be a little more subtle than they were with the original one? Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the way they've treated her in things like, I mean, she's appeared in Kingdom Hearts, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But then also, even in something like Advent Children, I mean, she doesn't have these like cartoonish basketball breasts. In subsequent, I mean, if you look at the like CG sequences in the original FF7,
She props herself up on the cliff in the
Yeah.
final sequence with her giant boobies.
it's ridiculous.
It's absurd.
So yeah, they've got to tone that down.
Well, to be fair, that was
But-
before women existed. There was nothing to reference for real life human bodies. So what are the designers to do? I mean, everybody brings up like the tone things, like that's kind of tiptoeing around it, right? But then it's like, okay, the cross-dressing sequence is like the number one thing, which like, yeah, it'll be funny to see realistic Cloud in a dress, but you forget like the surrounding environment and how creepy Don Corneo is and everybody else in that scenario. Like that's the weird stuff where I don't know how they get around it other than just having general kind of skeevy guy who then comes back and goes to Wu-Tai or whatever. Remember that weird sequence?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. You find
God,
it.
I'm so interested in how
Don
they're going to figure that out because they did say they're including it. So
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I also wonder like how tied they are. If they say something early on, if they change their mind as they go through.
And that's another good question. I mean,
Yeah.
like when we talk to them, like we asked them, I think it was like 10 questions when
Yeah.
we were there for FF15.
And then PR jumped in front of us. Yeah.
that just seems so
And-
long ago, by the way.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And but I think a lot has happened since then. Even like Hansen said, they brought in a new director.
Yeah.
At that time, CyberConnect 2 was still on the game.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
that's
they're not
right.
Largely
anymore.
developing it. Now it's
So,
all
like-
in studio. Yeah.
So they're like, I think that is what I'm most excited about for E3 this year is like finding out what the game has become versus what I thought it was.
And
you
it
know?
looked, I was amazed just knowing that they shifted, primary developers as well, how similar this trailer looked to the old one. And Joe, you're talking about like how adamant they are about if they release footage, they want to try and match that. You're talking about Versus 13.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is something like that Square Enix holds to company wide, but that was something that Tabata had talked about with 15, which, remember there had been basically a decade of trailers and stuff for Versus 13.
Mm-hmm.
And remember when they redesigned or when they made Luna a character in FF15. There was this whole announcement and almost an apology that so this character that was Stella, that you thought was Stella, is now Luna.
Yeah.
And she plays a different role in the story now. And but it's
It's fine.
yeah, it's fine.
I mean, there's a character in Final Fantasy 15 on the early promo, stuff of the whole boy band, we'll call it,
Yeah.
walking. That's not even in the game.
Oh yeah,
they
he
just
is.
eliminated
He's
him.
in there.
He is?
Yeah, he's
Well, I mean, not
I
in the-
forget his name, but he's not part of the band.
Sorry, part of the
Yeah,
band.
yeah,
I
yeah,
should
okay.
have. Yeah, I worked. Yeah, poor
The
word.
main one.
But anyway, so the idea that they felt this sort of obligation to the people who had been following Versus 13 for so long to integrate some of these elements that had already been shown to
Yeah.
it's this is what you thought the game is, this is what we're making. But this is a different part of Square Enix that's making, a different studio within the company that's making it. So I don't know if they feel as bound to it or not. but-
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think they should, though. Like, I hate that feeling of we were early in, figuring out what we wanted to do with this, and now we've changed our mind on. So, like, I don't feel like because they showed something, they should feel like, oh, we have to.
But at the same time, they shouldn't have shown something 4 years ago.
Well, I mean, that's what Square does, though.
Yeah.
Super. Like, I wish they wouldn't, but.
I mean, how did they not learn their lesson after Versus 13 on that?
Well,
though?
even with this, I'm curious what the release rollout's going to be, right? Like, if we play the first game, when are we going to get that second and so forth?
I mean,
and
halfway into the PS5. It's going to be so weird.
And I don't want it broken up too much like that because personally, I'm going to be really excited when I play that first game. I'm sure I'm going to end it and be like, okay, now I'm ready for, I hope I don't have to wait like 3 years for the next one or whatever.
Well, that's the other big question, I think, is like, I think they almost have to do this on PS4, but.
They said it's interesting in the state of play. They're like reimagining Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation 4 generation. Like they made it very clear. But this thing is going to be what, mid 2020? What's your guys' prediction for when this thing's coming out?
If it has a honest showing at E3, right? Like, hey, this is us actually pulling the curtain back on this game and not just like a longer trailer or something. Then I think we'd probably be on track to get it sometime next year.
Yeah. There's still a lot of people. I was just at a game store over the weekend, and someone's like, "Oh, Final Fantasy VII Remake's coming out 2019." It's like, I don't think so, man. I would be amazed. I just cannot imagine them launching Kingdom Hearts 3 in this.
I don't think it'll be this year. I think we're definitely looking at next year, but who knows?
I don't know, man. I mean, this would require a sort of degree of marketing savvy that they have not displayed up to this point as a company, but to come out at E3 with that game and say like November this year, like
it'd be awesome.
Like we're done yanking your chain about this thing. Like here it is this year. You can play it. That would be amazing. Mm-hmm. I would love to see that happen. Past lessons tell me that it's probably not happening.
Also, they must be really thankful that at least we know the PS5 is going to be. That you can play PS4 games on it, because I'd imagine this is going to be the type of game series where you're going to want to import your save. Maybe that's why I had multiple characters in my mind too, just thinking about if you buy that second game but didn't buy the previous one, like where do you start off as Cloud? So if they shift characters every time, it's like you can kind of have a new, somewhat, well, I guess everybody levels up together. This doesn't exactly work.
Yeah.
But, it's some sort of fresh start for them to hopefully rope new people in every time.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, and I also just want to say, if they do come out at E3 and say November, I don't know if I believe it still.
Oh, no. No.
Well, it's coming and it'll be like February now.
This is the same company that had for FF15, had a big reveal event where they pulled some slot machine and the release date came down. And then I was like, nope.
Well, even
Kingdom
Hearts 3 is the same thing. We thought we were getting that, in November, December, and then they had to push it out.
P.S. I don't mind delays. Delays generally make games better. I'm fine with that, but it's just it's funny the certainty with which and the like celebration they make around these kinds of announcements when they cannot stick to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the other thing I wanted to point out, in case people haven't or have forgotten, is that like it's all of the Sony promo stuff for this says play it first on PlayStation 4.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Really?
So it's almost certainly there's no way Square Enix isn't doing a multi-platform game.
Yeah.
But it could be one of those it's on, and Sony's shown it at two PSX and this thing, like their exclusive thing. I don't know how long.
A Nier Automata type thing might be a good.
Do you think that
benchmark.
even makes it to Switch?
Oh, to Switch? No way. No way.
Mm-mm.
I am twice as excited for E3 now, knowing there's going to be more Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love that freaking trailer, so I want more.
Yeah. That was just a clip from a larger show called The Game Informer Show. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, or GameInformer.com. We take the fun opportunities and exclusive information from Game Informer magazine and boil it into a show that airs every Thursday with exclusive cover story information, developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So come love games with us.